Sean Payton just shared with the media his impressions of Russell Wilson's first days of training camp practices. Now, this is coming courtesy of Mike Kliss on Twitter.
Obviously, he's moving around well. His weight's down. He's in real good shape. He's working really hard. There are a lot of nuances still we're working through. There's some good things in the running game today. Each day, you kind of look at the film and you start again with the corrections. But I've been pleased with his progress and where he's at, really dating back to the offseason and to where we are now into our first full week.
Now, as someone who has been out at Denver Broncos training camp for the past 4 open practices, it's become very apparent to me that Russell Wilson is indeed progressing well within this Sean Payton offense. It is far from perfect. He is learning a new offense. It's a very different offense than what the Denver Broncos ran last season with Nathaniel Hackett, and a very different offense as well from what he was used to running in Seattle. The terminology is different. The checks at the line is different. The cadence is different. Everything is different for Russell Wilson. He is learning a lot of different stuff on the fly, basically. And you can see that there are some elements of this new offense that he is comfortable with, especially the quick game outside the numbers. But there's other elements that he's not so comfortable with. And those are things we've honestly seen him not be as comfortable with throughout the course of his career. Throwing over the middle of the field has always been an issue for Russ. That's an issue now. Some of the other issues as well, but we are seeing a more confident Russ in terms of being willing to tuck down and run the football. Borderline too confident sometimes when you're supposed to be testing the defense downfield in passing drills. Yes, nothing is open, but this is the time where in practice you can test what you can and can't get away with, essentially. So I would rather Russell Wilson make a throw into tight coverage to see if he'd be able to get away with it in a game situation and risk throwing a pick. He did that today, actually, in a throw underneath to Cortland Sutton. He did stare him down a little bit, and Justin Simmons read it all the way, but that's the Russ that I would rather see in training camp. Just not be afraid to cut it loose if necessary and test what he can and can't get away with. But also, I can see why a lot of fans would rather Russ be a little bit less aggressive and a little bit more conservative, being willing to tuck down and run the ball. But I worry that some of his scrambles in practice would have actually been sacks in game situations. Guys like Zach Allen have been getting heavy pressure, and Russ has stepped out of that pressure, but you can also see that the defensive line is letting up a little bit. That's not going to happen in a game situation, obviously. So Russell Wilson has to be able to know when it's smart to scramble and when it's smart to maybe take a little bit of a risk with a throw. Russell Wilson is going to throw some interceptions this year. Every quarterback does every single season. He's going to make bad decisions, but it's all about taking calculated risks and knowing when to be aggressive and when to be a little bit more conservative. And Russell Wilson didn't know when to take calculated risks with the football last year, it felt like. There were times where he just YOLO'd balls up, especially in that freaking Indianapolis Colts game. I mean, he was obviously held back by bad play design, receivers running the wrong routes, bad offensive line play, so on and so forth. We don't need to go back into that whole saga and mess that Sean Payton rehashed. But to see Russell Wilson get more and more comfortable as the days go on in this offense has been positive. There have, again, been elements where the development has been a little bit slower, just, again, in terms of him holding onto the ball too long. That's an issue that has always plagued Russell Wilson. It always has. It always will, it seemed like. But if there are other things that Sean Payton can do to sort of mitigate those negative plays from Russell Wilson, then I feel like this offense can absolutely execute at a high enough level for the Denver Broncos to have a winning season this year and make the playoffs. I feel like this is going to be the reality for the Denver Broncos team right now. They're going to have to find ways to overcome Russell Wilson's shortcomings and be able to hone in on what Russell Wilson does well. And Sean Payton, I feel like, has done a pretty good job of it so far. Russ is getting more and more comfortable, and he's going to play in preseason, so he's going to get some of those live reps that he did not get last year in the preseason. So he's going to be going in to the regular season, week 1 against the Raiders, way ahead of the curve than he was last year, both him and just the overall offense as a whole. losing Tim Patrick yesterday to a torn Achilles is going to be a significant loss to the overall puzzle and the overall equation of Russell Wilson's success. But we did see in practice today guys such as Marquez Callaway step up as we expected him to do so. So that gives me a little more confidence after losing Tim Patrick, because that was going to be a key weapon for Russell Wilson this year. But overall, Russell Wilson is getting comfortable with Courtland Sutton. He's getting more comfortable with Jerry Jeudy. He had a really nice deep connection with Courtland Sutton down the left sideline. Courtland went up and mossed PS2, but it was also a really well-thrown football. Again, Russell Wilson is getting more and more confident in this Sean Payton offense every day. He's learning a new scheme. It's very evident. There are going to be growing pains. There are going to be ups. There are going to be downs every single day. But you can see that Russell Wilson is 100% committed and invested into learning this scheme through and through. All right, Broncos country, I'm curious, how do you guys feel Russell Wilson will be in terms of comfort and confidence once we go into week 1 against the Las Vegas Raiders? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts on this as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe and ring the bell. I would really appreciate it, guys. As I always say, it helps tell the old algorithm to push us out and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. And until next time, guys, this has been another episode of Denver Broncos Syndicate. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.